Blessings everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Cassandra and you are watching Spotless Mind Tarot on YouTube. Today I will be pulling cards for each of the 12 zodiac signs in order to receive insights into the Virgo New Moon, which occurs on September 21st, 2025 at 29 degrees and 5 minutes. This is the second new moon in Virgo, and we will also have a partial solar eclipse. In this reading, we will come to see how the archetypal energies of this particular moon cycle will affect you for the next 6 months. The 6-month cycle will build up to the Virgo full moon, which occurs on March 3rd, 2026. at 13 degrees and 4 minutes. I'll be using the Albano-Waite Tarot deck and the Urban Crow Oracle for these readings. As always, watch for your rising moon and or sun sign to get the most out of these readings. If you're not familiar with astrology, then the sign that you were born under according to your birthday is good enough. Timestamps for each of the zodiac signs are below in the description. If you would like to support my channel, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tap the notifications bell so you can receive notifications whenever I upload a new video. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter or X, and if you would like to book a private tarot reading with me, you may do so through my Etsy shop. I also accept tips and donations through PayPal, Venmo, and Buy Me a Coffee. All information can be found below in the description. So this Virgo new moon is part 2. Part 1 happened in August, and I already recorded a video for that, so if you haven't watched it yet already, I highly recommend watching part 1 Virgo moon. This is part 2 only because this is the second Virgo new moon that we are going to experience, which isn't exactly rare. It is a common occurrence, but it is rare in the signs that it falls under. Now, in the first video, I left a special message, and if you don't want to watch the whole video, then at least go back and watch that, where I describe and explain what I feel is surrounding these 2 Virgo new moons, since they are back to back and since they are happening in eclipse season. I mentioned in that video how the keyword for this cycle is gate, and I took some notes this morning and I wrote, the gate in which you choose to cross through is now the path you must take. New moons are about new beginnings, hence why I do these readings to help you gain insight into the next 6 months. Change and adjustment are always possible, but the path you must take is not changeable. And so in the last video, I mentioned how the actions you take and what you do over the next month is going to manifest over the years to come, maybe even the next 10 years to come. And I think that's really important because obviously that has a lasting effect, okay? And this occurs in the house where Virgo falls in your birth chart. Now, I do agree with the ancients that eclipses are definitely not auspicious per se. I don't necessarily believe they are a quote bad omen, but they are definitely very challenging, very powerful energies that can cause destruction, delays, and even lunar eclipses are associated with things like assassinations. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind, that eclipses are a pretty big deal. It's not a walk in the park, and you really shouldn't look at an eclipse, okay? Even if it is right above your head, you still shouldn't look at it. And so, I don't think that's all superstition. I think there's a reason why they said that, because they observed the patterns of what happened after and maybe even before the eclipse occurred. And so I wholeheartedly believe that the ancients knew exactly what they're talking about. Tropical astrology, or just today's modern astrology, likes to glorify eclipses. They like to tell people to go out and look at it and experience it and travel to where it's happening. And I just don't think that's a good idea. I mean, one of the eclipses we had a path that crossed over Texas, and as some of you may know, especially if you're in America, there was a very bad flooding incident that happened in a town or a city where the eclipse had crossed over and people had died during this incident. And so that's just an example of how these eclipses are not good. Okay, they're not auspicious. They're not. I really think we should believe the ancients when they said that these things should have some caution to them. So with that said, it's not to scare anyone or anything. I mean, things are inevitable regardless, but I think you should be very mindful of what you're doing on the day of the eclipse, especially days before and days after. And be mindful of your thoughts, be mindful of your emotions and where you are, and avoid things that are triggering, that are negative, and that sort of thing, because you could use these eclipses and, maybe not manifest from them, but you could ride above the waves, so to speak. And so I would even say, especially during lunar eclipses, those are definitely a good time to really tap in. And I might even make a video about how to utilize a lunar eclipse energy. We'll see if I do that. I haven't made a video in a while. I've been occupied with other things, so we'll see if I make that video. But without further ado, I don't mean to keep you guys waiting. Let's go ahead and jump into these readings. Aries rising moon or sun. With Aries on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 6th house of daily routine, physical health, habits, work ethics, services, performances, and skills. So for you guys, we have the 7 of Wands. And taking a look at the solar eclipse in Virgo New Moon chart, event chart, we have this eclipse directly opposing Neptune in the sign of Aries, and Neptune is in the sign of Aries at 0 degrees. And so this is a really big deal. You will have Neptunian activations at this time. It is also opposing Saturn, but Saturn is in Pisces right now, and so it's still activating you, but it's activating you in a very different way, because we have Neptune at the 0 degree point. I think a lot will come to light. Okay, there will be a lot of deep insight into, I guess, the people around you. I just feel like things are going to come to light, okay? And it does have to do with the people around you, but I do feel that it has an effect on your mind as well, especially your subconscious mind. And so you may have thoughts that do arise at this time. They may or may not be comfortable, okay? And so I think it's important to address that. And this card definitely speaks about addressing any issues and confrontations that are occurring right now, especially if you are being confronted by an outside individual or even a group. So I do feel like there's karmic implications here. I'm hearing what goes around comes around. And so this could be something that you're experiencing at your own fault, maybe based on a behavior or something you said, an action you took that maybe you shouldn't have taken, and now you are facing repercussions for it. So I think it's really important for you to ask yourself some really hard questions at this time. And this eclipse might be really uncomfortable for you. I would say this one's more uncomfortable. This Virgo new moon is more uncomfortable than the first Virgo new moon we had. I mean, it's an eclipse for one, but overall, I just get a sense that you are definitely struggling with something here, wherever Virgo falls in your birth chart, whether or not it's in the 6th house. So you also want to be really mindful of your health, both mental, physical, and emotional. I do feel like there's a lot of mental activity though because of Neptune. Neptune rules over Pisces in modern astrology, and Pisces and Neptune very much have to do with the 12th house. It has to do with the subconscious mind, and this is where you also can find mental illness, not solidarity, but solitary, okay, reclusive kind of energy, okay, outcasted energy. And so that could be something that's happening right now. Maybe a person or a group is trying to outcast you, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, this energy is really heavy, and if this doesn't resonate, then that's great. It doesn't apply to you. And if it does, then, you know, it's fine. It's okay, because this is very temporary energy. But I do think there's something really serious happening right now, and it's not a weekend and a time whenever you're watching this, but especially this weekend of the new moon eclipse, to not mess around, okay? To be really mindful of your actions, what you say, what you post online, even what you're thinking. I know sometimes it's hard to, you know, you don't want to suppress your thoughts, but you also don't want them to completely take over or completely define, you know, your existence or whatever it is you're going through. You can allow thoughts to arise without attaching yourself to them. And so I think this is a good time to kind of make up for something if need be. So the second card we have is the Knight of Swords. So it does have to do with your mind, a decision that needs to be made, a message that needs to be relayed. You could even hear back from somebody, okay? This could even be somebody coming to the rescue. This would be Aquarius, okay? So they don't have to be an Aquarius themselves. They could have an Aquarius placement, or maybe you could find relief through Aquarius wherever it is in your birth chart, okay, depending on your rising sign. And so that's a good way to maybe find answers and solutions to any problems or difficulties that you may be experiencing at this time. Information is going to come to you really quick, so it's important to pay attention, maybe even write things down if you know you're going to be forgetful about it later on. You know, just pull out your phone and bust out your notes app and just write down whatever it is that you are receiving, because I think it's really important, useful information. It's coming in as like a tool for you, okay? So I think that's really important, very valuable here. So I think that's all I got for you guys. Let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to conclude this reading. So the oracle card we got for you is Resistance. Resistance. It says, there may be a strong wind coming your way. However, you do have the ability to find a path with the least resistance. Have you ever seen a crow get thrown by the wind? The bird may get taken off ground, but it finds its balance again. Resistance brings an obstacle or adds friction to a situation. Ideas that once would have sailed into completion might now require some additional work. You may find a project or goal now requires an extra step to pass on to another phase. Resistance might manifest itself as a need for approval from an outside influence that takes longer to achieve. When resistance appears in reading, you are asked to be adaptable and find the path of least resistance. And there's a quote here. It says, "You are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather." And that is the person. I'm not going to butcher their name, okay? So that's what I have for you guys, and I wish you all the best. Taurus, rising, moon, or sun sign. With Taurus on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 5th house of self-expression, creativity, passions, hobbies, luck and fortune, personal interests, dating life, and children. So for you guys, the first card we have is the King of Swords. I feel like you guys are watching and waiting right now. You're kind of just waiting to see how things go, whether it's just with life in general or with the situation that you are currently facing. You could be waiting to be hearing back from somebody or a company. There's a lot of mental activity occurring here. This is a card of Gemini. And so you may be dealing with Gemini, or Gemini in your birth chart could be activated at this time for you. It could even be a way for you to find relief right now. I feel like you're going through, honestly, I feel like we're all going through some kind of difficulties right now, especially if you're in a Western country. You are definitely experiencing a lot of weird changes and transformations happening. And I'm in America, and so like we're definitely seeing some crazy things going on. And so I think you guys, I think because of that, you guys are kind of like, it's not that you don't want to participate anymore, but I think you kind of, you understand the value of not saying anything, that sometimes silence is the best answer, or sometimes sitting in silence is a way for you to resolve conflict in any way. So it's interesting because with Aries, I was picking up on conflict. This new moon could just be causing a lot of conflict for everybody. I mean, it is an eclipse after all. And so again, for you guys, you seem to be more like taking a step back and kind of just letting things unfold as they naturally do. But you're also really mindful, so you're not being completely cut off. Like you're not being oblivious to what's happening and what's going on. You're just choosing not to participate any longer. And so this could be a form of protest as well, by not participating in something that you don't agree with or you don't want to give your energy to. And I think that's great. I think that's really important for Tauruses, especially when you are feeling overwhelmed, is to take that break and to take a step back, and because you understand that things are going to happen with or without your participation. The next cards we have for you guys is the Devil and the Eight of Cups. And so this definitely is speaking upon what I was talking about, how you are choosing not to participate, to walk away from things that you know just aren't necessary at this time, okay? So you could be breaking old habits as well. This would be a great time to break a habit, to denounce something, to stand on business, you know, quit smoking if you're smoking, you know, whatever it may be that you are trying to achieve here. It's good to weed out all the things that are not good for you, not necessarily toxic, although they are toxic in nature, or, you know, energetically, I suppose. But just things that just no longer have a place in your life, or again, you don't want to participate in this double energy. You don't want to be a part of something that you know is not going to facilitate any growth, that you know is not going to benefit yourself or even humanity at this time. We are definitely in the times of a revolution happening, okay? And so, you know, everything you just don't want to feed the machine, basically. So that's what I got for you guys. Let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to conclude this reading. So the oracle card we have for you is number 51, Upheaval. Very interesting. Number 51, Upheaval. Nature does not discriminate. Upheaval is a reminder that things can change on a whim through no fault of your own. Are you prepared for change? Are you able to regain your composure and fly off to a better, more stable position? From being laid off to being forced to move to a new home, change can appear sudden and sometimes cruel, but not always. Sometimes there are clues that change is coming, yet we ignore the signs. Sometimes change brings a fortunate situation or moves us into a position to receive a greater opportunity. When upheaval appears, ask yourself if you can feel the rumblings, like a seismic wave just below the surface, that something is about to shift in your life. When you connect with your intuition, you will get a feeling that something is about to happen. You will pick up on the challenging energy that will soon impact your life. When you can anticipate a coming upheaval, you will be better able to plan for the shakeup. So that's what I have for you guys, and I wish you all the best. Gemini, rising, moon, or sun sign. With Gemini on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 4th house of ancestry, home, family, environment and foundations, emotional security, and domestic affairs. So for you guys, we have the 8 of Wands and the Star card. And so there's definitely a lot of rapid, quick movement occurring right now. I feel like this is happening all around you, but also within your personal life. So your own life itself is moving really fast right now. I feel like over the next 6 months in accordance to wherever Virgo is in your birth chart is where you're going to see a lot of sudden movement, a lot of activity, a lot of up and go kind of energy. It's going to be really hard to settle down in these places. So if you are a Gemini rising, then this is your fourth house. Even if you're not a Gemini rising, this will still have an effect on the fourth house, which is your family, essentially, among other things. But largely, it is the realm of family. And so this is going to be, it's going to be really pivotal time. If you have children, it's going to greatly affect them. It could be for the better, but you know, I'm getting, for those of you with children, maybe you have to move, okay? Maybe there's just some kind of, I'm getting there's some kind of separation here, so I hope that's not the case, okay? But I mean, honestly, with Aries and Taurus, I was picking up on some really heavy energy. And so there's a lot of heavy energy right now, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And this is an eclipse, so there's also that, okay? However, with the star card here, it is a good time for you to really focus on your dreams and your desires. I know the world is really crazy right now. I know there's a lot going on. There's all kinds of distractions. All kinds of events are taking place. I mean, it's inevitable, okay? It's just the way things are. I mean, if you follow patterns, it's just you could see how these things are inevitable. And so I think it's really important to try to stay as grounded, as rooted as possible. Because on the plus side, on the bright side of things, you know, this is the star card. This is the wish fulfillment card. This is really about things coming into alignment for you. So you could see a return on something. You could receive some kind of payback. Maybe, maybe you do, or maybe you are promoted, or maybe you do come into some kind of windfall here, okay? And so I think that's why it's important to focus on those things, because if when those things do come in, because they will come in for you, it's easy to lose them if you're not paying attention, or if you're too focused on other things. Now I know Gemini likes to stay informed. They like to keep with current events and things that are of that nature that are going on. As with most air signs, you know, they're more concerned about humanity and the state of things, the state of the world. And so you guys do want to like participate, and you guys do want to pay attention, but again, there's so much going on. So I think it's important that you are a bit detached from outcomes, okay? Because that is also something that the star card is about, because it's more about having faith and trust that everything will come into alignment, having faith and trust that everything is going to work out for the better. Okay, and again, if you're distracted, you're not gonna have that mindset. You're gonna be too focused on other things. And so the star card is here to remind you to be as neutral and as detached as possible to everything that's going on. And it's not just out in the world, this is also what's going on in your personal life, especially concerned with the home or family, children, or even just ancestry. I think overall there's some really inviting energy here. I do recommend watching the message of this video when I spoke about eclipses and how you really shouldn't participate in them. But I do feel that there is like a lot of, there's a lot coming in regardless. There's a lot going out, but a lot coming in. I mean, that's that Eight of Wands. It's coming and it's going. Okay, so yeah, it is going to be hard to stay grounded or at least have a grasp of things, but just, you know, keep your eyes on the prize is what I'm hearing. You know, the star card is, you know, focus on your North Star. Okay, focus on your path, focus on what guides you, if it's, you know, God, Jesus, or if it's your children, or what guides you, or whatever, whoever or whatever it is. Like, just focus on that, especially over the next 6 months, and I think you'll be able to get through it. And I do sense some good things coming. A windfall of some sort is definitely coming, okay? So let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to close up this reading. So for you guys, we got number 43, Sacred Space. One of my favorite cards. It's a really good card. Okay, sacred space. Maybe your sacred space is your nest, your home, or maybe it's the beach, or your favorite path in the woods. Sacred space may also point to an inner place, a belief you hold dear. It is a place that brings comfort and nurtures your development. This is your sanctuary. When you receive this card, it is a call to rejuvenate your spirit. It is a time to connect with the healing energy of your sacred space. Make time to connect with the space as it will help you center your energy and recharge your spirit. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best. Cancer, rising moon or sun. With Cancer on the ascendant, and this new moon will be placed in your third house of communications, language, writing, short distance travel, education, your neighbors, and your relatives. Okay, so the first card we have for you is the Page of Cups. And as I was shuffling, I got the Nine of Swords a few times. I mean, I didn't get it, but it came up a few times while shuffling. First, it came in the upright position, and then the reserve, and then the second time I saw it, it was in the reverse position. And so I definitely feel that there's a sense of burnout here. You're definitely overwhelmed. That could be Jupiter's influence, as Jupiter is passing through your sign of Cancer and it is expanding upon everything. Okay, so whatever placements you have in Cancer, it is expanding that. Okay, and so with the Page of Cups, this has a lot to do with being really self-reflective, being really self-aware of your feelings, of your thoughts, of your actions as well. So it's kind of like putting up a mirror to your face, okay? It's also a period of contemplation, a period of gaining new insight and wisdom and information, and that could be all thanks to Jupiter, as Jupiter does rule like the higher mind, higher education, philosophy, and religion. And so these things could just be expanding in your life. Maybe you are converting or interested in things like religion. Maybe you are starting to attend mass more. Even if you already are religious, like maybe you're just tapping more into that. Okay, and so maybe it's speaking to you more. There could be a lot of synchronicities happening. This new moon does aspect Jupiter, and so if you have anything near 21 degrees of Cancer, you can expect a lot of expansion in that. Now, eclipses aren't always a great thing. They can cause tragedies and a lot of disruptions. I mean, we're dealing with the nodes, and these are very karmic points, and the nodes are, yeah, they can be disruptive. It's meant to create change and evolution on this planet, and so things are definitely really expanding here. For some of you, you might even have your nodal placement around the 21 degree of Cancer, and so you are definitely going to see just, I mean, who knows, because I have to look at your chart. So I would highly recommend that you do get a reading from an astrologer if that's the case. Because yeah, like there's just something really pivotal happening here, something very big, and you're gonna feel effects for some time while the nodes are in Virgo and Pisces, because this is aspecting your it's aspecting you guys regardless. You're gonna get trines from Pisces, okay? And so yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And it's interesting because this card has a fish, and so Pisces is ruled by the fish. So the second card we have for you is the Fool. So you're definitely being sent out on a journey here. You're definitely being called and asked to rethink and reevaluate certain things in your life. It could be related to the third house or wherever this Virgo new moon falls in your birth chart. So it can deal with the way you communicate to people, how you communicate, who you communicate to. And again, I was picking up on how you're just like more interested and tapped into philosophy and religion and things like that, like just thinking in less conventional ways, okay, kind of trying to expand beyond the unforeseen and the unknown, or just like tap into things that are of the higher mind in general. So this eclipse is definitely causing a lot of disruptions, and if you're really tapped in and tuned into yourself and into the astrology, then you're going to feel it, and you're also going to see it. And so I'm definitely seeing it with other people on the internet talking about what's happening and going on, and people even referencing the eclipse, or whether knowingly or unknowingly, I see certain posts that it's just like, oh, that's so on par with the eclipse that's coming up. I don't know if they know that or not. So I know this reading isn't like very clear, and it's not very clear to me because the full card is in the unknown. It is you stepping into the unknown. Okay, and the Page of Cups is about exploring the unknown and building upon that, because the Page of Cups is the beginning of something new, and this has to do with water. And again, it's, I mentioned how, Pisces will be training you. The nodal energy of Pisces will train you, okay? Honestly, I feel like there's a lot to say and expand upon, but it's going to be different for everybody. But that's basically the general message that I got for you guys. And also keep in mind that this could occur over the next 6 months, so it's not like always going to be like sudden. I will say this weekend, if you're watching this the weekend of the new moon, that you can get like a preview of what's to come. Okay, you could like activate something here, you can initiate something here, but it could take like 6 months to unfold and complete. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to complete this reading. The card we have for you is number 4, balance. So number 4, balance. Have you ever noticed how even on windy days, crows and other birds can stay perfectly positioned on a thin telephone wire? They seem almost unfazed or unbothered by the wind. When we are in balance, we meet external forces with our internal strength, giving each space to exist in harmony. When balance appears, you may need to call upon your inner strength, as an approaching situation may test your ability to stay cool and composed. Just like the wind, it too will make its presence known and then move along. Balance may also appear when your daily schedule could use some reorganizing. Are you creating time for yourself, or is your day consumed with tasks that drain your energy? So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best. Leo, rising, moon, or sun. With Leo on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your second house of resources, material possessions, your wants, needs, desires, and your sense of security. So for you guys, the first card we have is the Ace of Wands. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the World card. So I'll go ahead and take that as your second card because I did see it as I was shuffling. And so it's interesting to have these two together because one speaks about not necessarily like a new beginning per se, but something new in your life. And then the World card is all about endings and ending a cycle. So you could see a completion of some kind. So for example, because this is your second house, let's say you gain a whole lot of money somehow, or just obtain some kind of resource, whether it's like maybe you inherited something after a family member passed away, and maybe they passed away a while ago, and you've inherited something they had, like a business or a property or whatever it may be. Okay, and so that's what the Ace of Wands is speaking about. You received something that more than likely was karmic, okay, because we are dealing with resource, like the second house. Okay, you even want to take a look at where Saturn is in your chart. There's something there, okay, but it is the completion of something. So like the ending of having to wait to inherit something, or the finalization, okay, like the paperwork goes through and everything's finalized. So it could be something like that. If it's not that specifically, because it's not going to be for everybody, or even anyone for that matter, but it is something along those lines. Okay, so you are receiving something that brings something else to an end here. I'm also getting something about your role in something. Your role in something is ending. So maybe you're stepping down. Maybe for some of you, you're retiring. So if you are retiring, that's pretty cool if you're watching. But yeah, like you're your what's that, I think it's from Star Wars. There's like a quote that they say. There's a line like, your services are no longer needed. I don't know if that's Star Wars, but that's what I'm hearing. Oh, maybe it's Age of Ultron. So Avengers Age of Ultron, one of the like Ultron bots, I believe, said that. I could be wrong. So it's from Star Wars or from Marvel, who knows. But yeah, your services are no longer needed. Actually, I think that's Iron Man. Come to think about it, it's the first Iron Man. Okay, regardless, as the bad guy in that movie, and I can't remember his name. Yeah, he said something like that. So yeah, it's something of that nature. So, but I think it's good though. Whatever, if your services are no longer required, I think there's something positive to gain from that. Maybe I'm kind of feeling maybe for some of you, you're not really too thrilled about this, but just know that, when one door closes, another opens. And these eclipses are pretty difficult to deal with, no matter whether or not you're paying attention to them. They cause a lot of delays, a lot of disruptions in people's lives and for the collective. And so just keep that in mind, that you're not the only one that's going through it. You're not the only one that has to experience something that is really difficult. I mean, we're all in it together right now. But again, like, overall, I do feel like good is coming from this. It may not seem like it at first, and maybe for some time, but I do feel like there's something really cool here, because with the Ace of Wands, again, like how I said, it doesn't necessarily speak of brand new beginnings, but it is something new entering into your life. It is a new opportunity, and what you do with that is entirely up to you. So you have the opportunity to make it something new and long lasting, as the world tends to be energy that is long lasting, or it takes a long time to unfold, because we're dealing with Saturn. So there is a lot to gain from this, okay? As I feel like you are gaining a lot. It's like the analogy I give, how you're gaining something, but you had to lose something in order to gain it. You had to lose a family member or a position or whatever it is. You had to lose something in order to gain something else in return. So that's basically what I'm getting. I feel like I could keep going, but I don't want to in these videos, as these readings are really draining. Any tarot reading I do is super draining for me, and so I try my best to deliver as much as I can, but I'm at that point where I'm definitely getting really, really drained by this. So yeah, anyways, don't mean to ramble. That could also be a sign for you, if you are feeling drained, to pull back. You don't have to give it 100%. Okay, I could give this 100%, but I'm not going to. And so yeah, just keep that in mind. Some places I'll give 100%, like a private tarot reading, I'm going to give 100%. So that's really what it is. Like, pick and choose where you give that kind of effort, because not everything requires a straight A, a perfect A plus. Okay, you could have an A minus, it's okay. So anyways, let's go ahead and pull an oracle card for you to conclude this reading. Very interesting. We have number 54, Wrath. Very, very interesting. So let's see what the book has to say about this. Oh my. I am so clumsy. So what was it? 54. Okay, Wrath. Ooh, we got a long one here. Okay. One day I heard the sound of what could have been 100 crows outside my window. The sky was nearly black, with swarms of angry birds dive-bombing the tree outside my apartment. A young raccoon had killed a baby crow. The energy in the air was almost palpable. You could feel the anger of the crows, as well as the fear of the raccoon, who clung desperately to the tree for dear life. Wrath creates a powerful energy. It can be destructive and can lead you down a path that may strain or cause friction within a relationship. Wrath adds another element to anger, the element of revenge. It's not just enough for the offender to know that you are angry. They must also feel or experience that anger in some way. Wrath asks you to consider the energy that you are creating from your anger. It is one that will, in the end, create a positive change in the relationship. Or are you creating resentment that fuels the desire for future revenge? Although it may have been a single event that caused the energy of anger to present itself, it is through wrath that the anger mutates and splinters, creating a breakdown in the relationship and negative emotions. So that was really interesting. I hope that resonated with you guys. I didn't really pick up on anger in the reading per se, but maybe you could replace those kinds of words with something else. I mean, anger can manifest in many different ways, so keep that in mind too. Anger is just like a one word you could describe a multitude of feelings that fall under that category, so also keep that in mind. All right, so thank you so much for watching, Leo, and I wish you all the best. A Virgo rising, moon, or sun. With Virgo on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your first house of identity, sense of self, your soul's direction, and your place in the world. So the first card we have for you is the Nine of Cups. So it's interesting, out of everyone, I think you guys are, for whatever reason, you guys are good. Like, you're feeling good. Maybe you're not feeling good. I know some of you may be struggling with the eclipse energy, but I think overall, the way your life is, like, you're completely satisfied. And we have the Hierophant at the bottom of the deck, so you're definitely in a place where you feel secure, you feel like you have everything you need, you feel like you have all the information and that sort of thing. Okay, so this eclipse is occurring at 29 degrees of Virgo, and it's the second new moon that we're having in Virgo. If you don't watch my first reading for the Virgo new moon that occurred in August, I do highly recommend that you do watch that video. But regardless, you don't have to. This video is fine because this is about the eclipse, right? The first Virgo new moon was not an eclipse. Okay, it was not within the sphere of the nodes to be an eclipse. Now, this eclipse is directly opposing Saturn at 28 degrees of Pisces. And if you have Saturn in Pisces, and especially if you have anything at the end of Pisces, the end of Virgo, you're going to have these kinds of activations. And I recommend seeking out an astrologer or just looking into it yourself and really tapping and tune into what's going on, because this new moon will give you insight of what you could really expect to happen over the next 6 months. Now, eclipses are really, really disruptive, okay? I recommend you watch the message at the beginning of the video because I kind of explained my stance on eclipses and what the ancients believed. I mean, I didn't go into exactly what they believed, but they did say that eclipses are bad omens. They are not a good thing. But today's modern astrology and like celebrates eclipses for some strange reason, and even encourage you to go look at an eclipse, which is a big no for the ancients. So just keep that in mind. Yes, good things can come from this, but usually something bad does occur, whether directly to you or it affects the collective around you in the world at large. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Just because you're not going through anything doesn't mean, I mean, definitely doesn't mean other people aren't, but don't ignore the fact that you are still a part of the collective. Okay, so anyways, how to get that out of the way. I think it's a pretty big deal to kind of sit with you guys for a minute too, because this is your energy. This is Virgo. And there's a lot happening. There's a lot of transformations happening. And this is your first house. So, or if you don't have Virgo as a rising sign, it's whatever house that may be. But because it is in the first house for Virgo rising, it doesn't matter. You're still gonna really feel this. And it's also the rising sign of your moon chart. If you were to give your own moon a birth chart, it basically will just put your moon in the first house. And so, yeah, it's the rising sign of Virgo energy is still very prevalent here, regardless. So it's interesting because this card is Jupiter in Pisces, and right now Jupiter is in Cancer, which Pisces trines Jupiter, okay? So there could be, I'm getting blessings from Jupiter, there could be activations from Jupiter, especially if you have anything in Cancer. Wherever Cancer sits in your birth chart is where you're going to see those activations. I feel like that's where most of your abundance is coming from. This Nine of Cups speaks about abundance and being really secure. It also is like a card of showing off. It's kind of like putting your goods on display, whatever that means. Hopefully, I'm sorry, that's what I heard. But yeah, like just kind of, it's like displaying trophies, right? And I always think of that picture of Beyonce when I think they said it was like Photoshopped, but it's like a picture of her, I believe, when she was young, and she's got like all these trophies behind her. Who cares if it's Photoshop or not? It's still a cool picture, right? And it's kind of like that. I always get that image in my head when I see this card. It's kind of like that's what it is. It's you know, celebrating your wins and your successes, and you know, it shows your hard work. A trophy does show your hard work. It represents everything you worked hard to achieve, right? Especially if it's a first place trophy, you know, you won that competition. Okay, so you're definitely in the winning circle here. You are in a winning position. The second card we have is the Three of Wands. I feel like this card is asking you to, I feel like it's asking you what is truly important. Sure, you have all this abundance and all of this success, but are you fulfilled? Okay, is it leading you anywhere? Because the Three of Wands is all about the path and the journey, and you know, expanding your horizon. I mean, he's standing on top of the hill looking at the horizon and what lays before him. He is currently on a path right now. Okay, the wand suit is all about walking along a path and following through on orders, following through on your goals, and that sort of thing. And so this is like a good time for reflection, but it's also a good time to not only broaden your horizon, like expand your worldview, but take a really good look at your worldview. Like take a good look at what lays out in front of you and all the potential that lies beyond that horizon, because you can only see so far out into the distance, right? And it's like being on the beach, you know, you can only see so far out into the ocean. You can't see what's on the other side of the globe, right? And so there's endless opportunity and endless of like the unknown that's out there. And so I think this eclipse is asking you to look there, to look into, you know, out into the vastness of reality. And you know, you when you're, so like if you're on the beach and you're looking out, right, like you can't really like focus on a certain point or anything. I mean, unless there's like a ship out there or something, you know, it's endless, it goes on forever. And so yeah, like have your goal in mind, but be more focused on the endlessness. The basically don't confine yourself to that goal. Like don't just think there's one way of achieving something. Don't just focus on the mundane and like what's here and now. The cards are asking you, this eclipse is asking you to look beyond everything. Okay, so I hope that made sense. I was trying to explain it in a different way, but it wasn't coming out. Okay, so okay, so with all that said, I'm gonna have to move on, unfortunately, but that's basically what's occurring. And keep that in mind that this is going to unfold for 6 months. You could get a preview this weekend, and maybe even a good time to really focus on, you know, what these are, what things mean to you. Like, yeah, you have all the success, but what of the success is most important to you? And you know, I think if you were to focus on that, you're able to expand for the next 6 months and keep growing. So there's definitely a lot of growth and opportunity here for you guys. So let's go ahead and pull an oracle card and gain some more insight into this reading. So the card we have for you is number 33, Knight. I hope you could see it. I'm recording off my laptop, so it's not the best quality. I'm thinking about changing that here pretty soon. Anyways. Alright, number 33, night. It is here that all the chatter, all the noise, all the action of the day subsides and quiet returns. Night creates a space to contemplate the day as a whole. What event had the most significant impact and will help you grow? Are there events such as a petty squabbles that serve you little and can be released into the dark? Night brings to your awareness your sleep hygiene. The ability to get a solid 8 hours of sleep has been proven not only to help your mood, but also improve your health. Both dementia and heart disease are linked to lack of sleep. Do you practice healthy sleeping habits? Are your nights filled with restorative sleep, or does your racing mind keep you awake? When the night card appears, you may need to focus on creating a healthy bedtime routine. So that was really interesting, all right? Go get some sleep, all right? I know it might be a little hard, especially with this eclipse. You might struggle with that, but anyway, so that's all I have for you, Virgo. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best. Libra, rising, moon, or sun. With Libra on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 12th house of hidden realms, enemies, asylum, mental health, dreams, fantasies, secrets, and solitude. All right, Libra, so the first card we have for you guys is death. And I was just about to say that having an eclipse or any kind of new moon in the 12th house is pretty difficult. Anything in the 12th house can be really difficult. And I'm a Libra rising, so I could definitely relate to what's happening right now and the energies that are going on. However, I think it's really, really important to be able to be open to what no longer has a place in your life. Whether it is a mindset, a belief, a job, a habit. I think mostly it has to do with your inner world, okay? Maybe you've been spending a lot of time there, in the sense that the past month you seem to be trying to break down walls here, trying to break through, and that's what I'm getting. There's some kind of breakthrough happening. Whether you initiated it on your own, like you took active measures, or it's going to initiate into your life regardless. So I would say it's better that, I've said this before and I don't know who I said it for, but it's better to be death on the horse than be death on the ground, right? It's better to be the one that's above everything happening. I mean, maybe being the Pope is a good place too, because you're pleading with death. You're trying to beg for forgiveness. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I mean, he's trying to stop things from happening, from things that are destructive. But notice how he's not a violent person, right? Notice how he is only pleading, and he's wearing all gold, right? And the sun rises between the two towers, right above his head, right above the crown. So there's a lot of things we could say about that. You could make it into an analogy, or you could take it quite literally. Regardless, you want to rise above this, but death is quite inevitable. So there's a death occurring here, and it is going to pertain to the 12th house, or even wherever Virgo sits in your own birth chart, if you're not a Libra rising. But regardless, if you're not, it's still affecting you in this way. There's a need to purge and cleanse and to clear away, to clear the weeds, okay? So maybe even do some gardening work. Maybe do some deep cleaning in your home. I feel like you can offset a lot of things by taking action. Again, like I said, you want to be the guy on the horse, right? You want to be the one initiating the change and the action. That's not to say you want to cause death and destruction and decay all around you, But for example, like cleaning, right? You're clearing away, quote unquote, the dead, right? You're clearing away dust and dirt and grime and all that. And so that's like one way of cleansing and one way of purging. So it doesn't have to necessarily be in a destructive way where you're causing harm or anything like that. Okay, so it's you want to alchemize it, basically. Okay, the next card we have is the Three of Wands, and I did get that card for Virgo, but it's coming up different for you guys. But at the same time, you guys are both on a path here. They had the Nine of Cups and the Three of Wands. You guys have Death and the Three of Wands. And for both of you guys, this is a pretty big deal, because for Virgo, this new moon's in their first house, and for you guys, it's in the 12th house. And, you know, these two houses are just really, really powerful. I mean, when you look at it from an evolutionary standpoint, the 12th house represents your birth. It represents the 9 months leading up into your existence, and then the first house represents your birth, because your first house is determined on your time of birth. It is a sign that's sitting on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth, whether or not the sun is rising there. That is what's on the horizon. Okay, that is like the entry point of the soul, quote unquote, right? Whether or not you believe the soul enters before or after birth, it doesn't matter. That is the entry point for you into this world. Okay, and so look at it like that. There's a birthing process happening here, and then the next new moon will be in your first house. Okay, so again, a lot of alchemy going on here, and I think it's important that I read to you like this. I mean, all my readings are like that for me. It's all about dealing with magic and dealing with the spiritual and other sorts of things, right? So you're going through, maybe not the birth itself, but you are definitely going through gestation, right? Through a chrysalis of some sort. And I think that's really, really important. So this energy will carry over for the next 6 months as well. So do keep in mind that it's not like you're just going to experience it all at once. You could get a preview the weekend of the eclipse, and then, you know, it's going to take time to come into fruition until the next Virgo full moon, so which will happen in March. So from here to March, expect to have this experience in the 12th house or wherever Virgo's in your chart. So the Three of Wands is all about the path you are taking. It is all about expanding your horizon, looking at all the vast opportunity and space, and knowing that there's plenty for everybody. There is more than what meets the eye. Okay, and so the 12th house is a good place to tap into that, to tap into things that are unseen, things that are hidden. Okay, so there could be a need to heal or a need to get over something, especially, which I could relate to. So if you're struggling to heal from something, especially over the past few years or the past year or so, and you've tried to get out of it, you've tried to change your mindset, you've maybe even like told yourself things that aren't true, it's time to give that up. It's time to let that shit go. I've said this before for Capricorn in a reading. I don't know when or where it was, but I was basically telling them, like, you know, you need to get over yourself. You know, like, you care so much about this shit, and it's like, for what? Like, why are you doing that to yourself? And Capricorns are really good at doing that. And it's relatable for you guys because Saturn is exalted in your sign. And so you definitely have a strong influence from Saturn regardless. And Saturn rules over Capricorn. So you got to get out of your own way. And I feel like that's what's happening here. Like, you are death on the horse as well as the Pope pleading for mercy. You need to get the fuck out of your own way and just allow it to happen. Know that you are both. Know that you are in control. Again, like how I was saying, like, cleaning is a better way to purging than causing destruction and that sort of thing. Clean your garden, clean up the weeds, you know. like just do something to kind of it's almost like what's it called, ramification. I can't say the word. Okay, I apologize. I suck at vocabulary. It's just like a remedy for your chart, basically. It's a remedy for the energy. Instead of being consumed by it, you take control of it in your own way. So anyways, I think that's what I have to say. There's a lot more I could say, and I feel like there's so much more I could say for everybody, but I think it's going to be really different for each individual what's really happening. And so if you do want a reading from me, I do offer private readings. You can find a link for that in the description. But for now, I think this is good enough. And of course, there will be other new moon readings to come. So let's go ahead and pull an oracle card and close out this reading. So for you guys, we have number 5, Battle. Super interesting. These have been really interesting cards I've been pulling for you guys. Number 5. Crows are incredibly territorial and will fight intruders to maintain order within their space. You may find that defensive feelings are brewing, whether from within or from an external source. If you have perhaps stepped on some toes or entered into someone's territory uninvited, be prepared to deal with the consequences. This card may also indicate that you will need to defend yourself against someone attempting to infiltrate your space. Take notice of the crows sitting on the wires. They are not involved but are watching on to see which bird is the victor. This may indicate that when it comes to your situation and the battle that is brewing, there may not be much in the way of outside support for either side. This could be an advantage or disadvantage depending on your position. Okay, so I think that's really powerful and also important because this is an eclipse energy, so there's a lot of disruptions happening, so we'll just be really mindful of these disruptions. And it sounds like just keep your guard up, but also, again, you don't want to be the one causing problems. You want to clean up the mess. All right, so that's what I have for you guys, Libra. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best. Scorpio rising, moon, or sun. With Scorpio on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 11th house of networks, community involvement, your social circle, creative projects, aspirations, and gains. So for you guys, we have the Sun card. Very interesting. So it's been pretty serious for all the signs so far. That's not to say that it's not serious for you guys, but you know, this eclipse energy isn't really easy for whatever reason, though you guys seem to be pretty okay for the most part. I mean, we have the Sun card out, right? And so with all that said, Mars is about to enter into your sign here in the coming day after the eclipse occurs. Maybe even hours after it occurs, Mars will enter into Scorpio. So you could just be really motivated right now, really eager to take action, to go after things. You might even experience an increase in energy, movement, that sort of thing. And so maybe that's why we have the Sun card here, because you're definitely motivated. I feel like you guys are ready to just attack something, like go after a plan, maybe open a business. Like you're ready to basically just get out there and to expand. I feel like you guys are releasing something of some kind or about to initiate something new here. With that said, we have the 4 of Cups at the bottom of the deck and then the Chariot under that. And so I think it's not only are you you should definitely take action and definitely go, because that's what the Chariot is about. It's about moving forward with things, moving forward with a plan, with your life. You know, the 4 of Cups could signify that maybe you're too focused on something, you're too focused on doing something your way, that you're not willing to take the advice of other people. You're not willing to look outside the box or even take time to consider what other people have to say, what other people are offering, or even what the universe is offering. So just be really mindful that you're not too narrow-minded, not too zeroed in on just your reality, and, you know, be open to the reality around you. It's not to say that you have to accept that reality around you or accept the offers that are being made, but at least don't be oblivious to it, because there could be some useful information in these offers and opportunities, whether or not you pursue, whether or not you take the advice. And I think that's really important right now, as we have an eclipse coming up. Eclipses can reveal things to you. Generally, it's going to reveal the shadow of things, because eclipses are, you know, regardless of what modern astrology says, eclipses are very disruptive. Okay, I don't want to say that they're quote unquote bad, but let's just say that they create endings, they create disruptions. And I mean, just look at what's happened in a month, especially if you're in America. Like, look at everything that's happened literally since Virgo season started up until now. Like, it's crazy. And it's not just here, it's everywhere in the world. And especially with conflicts in the world that are connected to your country of origin, or, you know, not origin, but like where you live, right? Again, you don't want to, maybe you don't want to participate in that, and that's fine. You don't have to participate. And I think I even got that for Taurus. Taurus had they're in a position to where they don't want to participate, because they don't want to expand upon that and create upon that. They're not gonna and they're not gonna force their way through anything. And I even mentioned how that could be an act of protest or activism. You know, if you think about like sit-in protests where people go and sit somewhere, you know, so you're not really moving, you're not really taking action, you're just sitting there, but you are still participating. Okay, so that's one message we can get out of this, is that you don't necessarily have to participate, but also please don't ignore it, because I think it still has an effect on you. And I think if you do ignore it, that it could actually create complications in the future. So the second card we have for you guys is the Empress. And it's kind of funny because the Empress is definitely unmoved. She's just chilling, she's vibing, she's good, she's even pregnant. So you could be going through maybe even like a birthing process. It's interesting because I said that for Libra, that they're kind of like in gestation, like they're kind of in a phase where when it's the Virgo or the Libra New Moon, that they could have some kind of rebirth, some kind of birth in general. And so for you guys, I feel it's the same way in some aspect, although we're gonna be some months out from the Scorpio New Moon, which that would probably take place like in November, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so you know, you still have some time basically. And I think that's another message here, is that you have time, or you could take your time. Okay, don't beat yourself up for that either. Don't be too lazy about it, but also like give yourself some grace. Now, with all that said, I think again you guys seem to have the best outcome here. This is something that's going to occur for 6 months. You're, you know, leading up to the Virgo full moon. And so I mean, these two cards could very much represent the outcome on the Virgo full moon, like the outcome of everything you're going through, especially in regards to your 11th house. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to close this reading. So the card we have for you is number 49, Territory. I don't think I've ever pulled this card before, so congratulations on that. Okay, number 49, Territory. Crows are very territorial. They have distinct groups and they will not hang out too long on a block that is not theirs. Territory indicates that someone may be entering your space uninvited, or that you may be the one who is the intruder. This card may also ask if you are protecting something out of concern that someone may be trying to step on your toes or take over something you cherish. When territory appears in a reading, you may need to consider what boundaries are in place or if they are needed. would the situation benefit from establishing some ground rules? Territory may also appear if you need to carve out some space for yourself, whether that be within your home or in the form of time to be alone. You may need to define an area that is solely yours and yours alone. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, Scorpio, and I wish you all the best. Sagittarius, rising, moon, or sun. With Sagittarius on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 10th house of vocation, careers, public image, legacy, long-term plans, and your impact on the world. So the first card we have for you guys is the 8 of Cups, and I think that's really fitting considering we're dealing with the 8th or the 10th house here. And this card has a lot to do with innovation, with finishing and completing things, with adding the final touches, as well as providing input where needed. So this new moon and this eclipse may be calling on you to basically just finish what you started, whatever that may be. It doesn't necessarily have to do with career, okay, but it is something that has a huge impact on your life and those around you. So it's really important to pay attention to what you're doing at this time, because whatever you do may have a lasting effect. At the same time, you might be kind of pushed and forced into this because we are dealing with eclipse energy, which is really disruptive. Okay, I don't want to say it's always a bad thing, but it definitely can cause a lot of discomfort, let's just say, in people's life. And so it is about your responsibility. Okay, so basically you're just being called to own up to your responsibilities and, you know, fulfill your promises and do the things you said you were going to do and that sort of thing. So we have the 6 of Cups. You could be reconnecting to the past or with somebody from the past. This could just be you reconnecting to, you know, something that was incomplete and something that needs your attention right now. There could even be like old wounds or old memories coming back to the surface and you're having to work on them. So therapy would be advised here if you feel you could really benefit from therapy, or anything that is therapeutic, that is nurturing and healing. I would definitely seek that help and that assistance if you feel called to. So there's some past hurts here that are arising. Okay, past motivations that kind of have a sting about them. There's something about, I guess there's something about the way you used to do things and it's not the same anymore. Like you can't go back to that way of doing things, or it's just, you know, life goes on kind of thing. And for some reason there's some attachment to it though, and so there's some hurt surrounding that. Overall, it's a good time to put your head down. So if you do feel overwhelmed, if you do feel like, again, there's too much responsibility, or, you know, whatever it may be, you know, put your head down and work. Okay, so it's not necessarily about working harder or working more or longer hours. It's just, you know, more or less just go back to focusing on your work. So so maybe like there was a long period where you weren't so focused on work, like you didn't really care for it, or you just weren't interested in it, or you had the job security that allowed you to go on and live your life and not worry about work. And I think you're at that point now where, for whatever reason, whether you're losing the job security or not, you just want to go back to that. You want to go back to the way things were, or you just want to go back to doing the kind of work you used to do all the time. So I think that's pretty cool because there's a revival happening, you know. There is some pain surrounding it, but I think, you know, I think it's painful because it's something that is important to you, and maybe it's something that you're meant to do or meant to continue on. And so you just got to reconcile with that pain, reconcile with the fact that, yeah, you did step away for some time, and so what, you know, it happens. You got to live your life. And who knows, maybe the experiences you've had in the meantime are going to really benefit you moving forward now. Like maybe I mean, it could be anything, so I don't want to expand on that, but basically, yeah, you could take those experiences and apply it to what you do. So again, you're not going to be able to like go back to the way things used to be, like, or at least like the way how things used to run, like the way you used to go about the work you do. But I think you can return to that work, and you know, it's like you're given new tools, basically. Like, you still got to complete what you started, but you have a new set of tools this time. Okay, so I think that's pretty cool. And that's really interesting. I think that's all I really need to say. It's that simple for you guys. So, of course, expect this for the next 6 months, as this is energy that will lead up to the Virgo full moon in March. So, I think March you'll be able to see the results of your hard work. So, let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to close out this reading. So, for you guys, we got number 29, memory. 29, memory. Crows never forget a friend or a foe. In a changing populated landscape, these remarkable birds recognize the faces of those who have hurt as well as helped. When crows spot a predator or known human who has been less than kind, they go into a frenzy, calling out to all that danger is near. They spread the word about the good stuff too, such as people who tend to share their lunch or places where food is often discarded. What is remarkable is they also pass down the memory of their experience to their young. As complex as these birds are, forgiveness does not seem too likely. Memory asks you to examine areas where you may be letting a past hurt or situation impact how you engage with someone today. Are you cautious or holding a grudge? Do you expect others to behave in a certain way because of past behavior? So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best. Capricorn, rising moon or sun. With Capricorn on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 9th house of higher learning, philosophy, religion, long distance travel, publications, luck and fortune, and moral values. So for you guys, we have the 10 of Pentacles. So that's really cool because, for one, this is a card of blessings. It's a card of just ultimate abundance. So it's abundance that is achieved collectively as a family or as a group, okay? Or maybe even as a company, however it applies to you. So even like a relationship. Okay, so it could be family at large or the family, you know, whoever is living within the household, even if they're not related to you, you know, you could look at it like that. There could be a windfall that does occur, although I wouldn't say that's likely for everybody. I don't know, it's possible because Gemini had something similar in the sense that something good is coming to them, and I really do believe that. I feel like what good is coming or could come from this eclipse, which, you know, if you watched the beginning of the video, I kind of explained how eclipses are a quote bad omen, and to, you know, just be really cautious around them. There could be disruptions, there could be something taken from you, okay? But on the other end, because it's such a positive card, it's meant to, you know, not to sound corny about it, but to clear away so something new can come in, you know, however you want to look at it. There's something here tied to memory. And so now I'm thinking, like, you know, like if you're familiar with muscle memory, which I don't even know if it's a proven thing or it might be a theory, but that has a lot to do with like working out. And so muscle memory, from how I understand it, is like let's say you work out for steadily, whatever, and then you take a break for some time, and then like I think it's like you get back to it, and like something to do with the muscle memory or something, like, yeah, I don't know the exact thing about it. Maybe you can just look it up and figure it out for yourself. But so it just has to do with like your body remembers how to do it, okay? And so when it picks it back up again, it's like nothing ever happened. I think that's what it's really about. So there's something like that happening, whether it is like literal like muscle memory or just metaphorically speaking. There could also be a desire and a need to save and hold on to finances and resources. There could be, I feel like there's expansion here. Maybe there's a desire to expand upon your own legacy and what you leave behind for your children or for the people around you, for your community. The second card is the Two of Pentacles. So yeah, this is about management and planning, and again, just I think it's really it's surrounded around planning. I think you're balancing like play and work kind of dynamic, or like with spending your money. Like maybe it's you'll spend money on your necessities and then you treat yourself, and you kind of like balance it out. Like, okay, I have X amount of money and I have to buy all this and pay for all this. It leaves me with this amount of money, and I could buy myself things. Or it's like on the next check, I'll use that to spend it on myself. On this check, I'm just gonna pay bills and rent and whatever like that. So there's something like that happening, to where you're kind of giving an equal give and take, or you're giving equal amounts of energy to things within your life. It doesn't have to be money, and you know, it's balancing itself out. So there are some like extremes where, again, like you use one check solely for responsibilities, another check for fun and pleasure and things like that, or savings or whatever it is. So, you know, you there could be these extreme highs and extreme lows. So you do want to be careful. You don't want to overdo it. In the example I give, you obviously want to have money left over from both checks, right? Like you don't want to just completely deplete your resources. Okay, and so that's basically what this is about. I mean, you know, if we're just gonna look at it like very generally, this is about balancing your resources, right? Like that's the easiest way you could read these two cards together. There's also a desire to let go and a desire to expand. Maybe a desire to travel. Maybe it's a desire of letting go of expectations. Overall, there's just this balancing act, and it has to do with the 9th house, or wherever Capricorn is in your birth chart. That's where this balancing act is coming into play, and it's going to build up and build momentum here, I think, in the coming weeks, and especially after the eclipse. So it's in preparation for something, whatever. It's going to be different for everybody, of course, and it depends on what it is you're doing here. Okay, so yeah, like that's the end game of this, or that's like the message from this, is that it's in preparation for something that is to come. Okay, so maybe this skill and this habit that you develop is gonna benefit you moving forward. Like you're gonna need to know how to handle both extremes and both sides of the tree, you know, both pillars or whatever. Yeah, so that's basically what I got for you guys. Pretty simple. Just like Sagittarius, I think you guys are just, like, you're okay with, well, for the most part, generally speaking, because I know there's some Capricorns out there that are not okay right now. But I think that's something, if you're not okay, just know that you really are. You gotta trust. And just know that, like, this isn't all for nothing. There's a reason for this, what's going on right now, especially if this is a difficult thing that you're going through. You're being prepared for something, and I don't have a time frame, but this is energy that's going to carry for 6 months. I mean, I think this past month you've really been feeling it, and you've really been aware of it, and so it's you could see it kind of settle down a couple weeks after the eclipse. I can't say that. And then it's kind of gonna linger up until the Virgo full moon. Maybe it'll end then, or it can continue to carry on. But this, if anything, like this is the most difficult period of this, basically. So I hope that made sense. Let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to close the reading. So the card we have is number 42, routine. That's very interesting. Notice how there's like I mean, they're obviously migrating, but notice how they're two opposites, two different extremes happening here. That's definitely what I was picking up on. Number 42, routine. Every morning, I watch the crows return to my neighborhood, and every evening, I see them as they depart. It is like clockwork. The crows have a routine that they have stuck with for as long as I can remember. Routine speaks to the things we do out of habit because it is part of who we are, what is expected of us. In many ways, it is routine that creates stability. However, it can also lead to stagnation or getting into a rut. Ask yourself, are you in a routine that makes a foundation for success, or are you merely going through the motions because you don't know what else to do? So I think those are really good questions to ask, and maybe it is good to ask if this whole balancing thing is a good idea or not. Who knows? So like, again, I feel like you're being prepared for something here either way. So that's what I have for you guys, Capricorn, and thank you for watching. I wish you all the best. Aquarius, rising moon or sun. With Aquarius on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 8th house of rebirth, transformation, inheritance, marriage, the hidden mysteries, and personal or soul development. So for you guys, we have the Hierophant. Okay, so we're dealing with the 8th house here, regardless of where Aquarius actually sits in your birth chart. This eclipse is activating the 8th house for Aquarius, regardless. I feel like there's an inner need or desire to expose something, whether it's a big truth, like like on government level or something like that, or it's just something in your personal life, some kind of revelation of sorts. So something that is deeply, deeply personal to you is happening here. So it's interesting for you guys, there seems to be an air of mystery, an air of like just energy in the universe and the spiritual, things like that. Like it seems like we're very, like the veil is very thin. It seems like it's like it is already Samhain for you guys. It's already the, we are in the time of ancestors. This month we have Ancestor Appreciation Day, and we have all these other like things and holidays happening. So the autumn equinox is a celebration of our ancestors. At least it was for a lot of Indo-European tribes and Indo-European paganism. This was a time to honor and remember the ancestors, as well as a time to practice in divination, to foresee the coming future, because the harvest is ending. We're about to enter into winter. And so, winter was a quote dark time for our ancestors because earth goes to die during this time, and whatever you have harvested is what's going to get you through the winter. So it was a pretty tough time for some people. And so this is also a very magical time where the veil is thin, where dark entities tend to come out and roam the land, right? And so there's a lot of magical elements here happening for you guys, which is really interesting. So there could be a lot of mental evaluation as well, but I really just feel like you're here to expose some kind of truth, whatever that is. You're here to do it in a way that is meant to celebrate. It is meant to uplift, even if it is a harsh truth. I think it's meant to benefit people. Okay, it's like a Hierophant is supposed to tell you the truth of religions and things like that, relaying messages from God. And so it's a pretty big deal. And yeah, messages from God, at least like based on the Bible, like there's apocalyptic texts, right? Like there's doom and gloom in the Bible. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. And so, but those dark messages are meant to help people. It's not meant to shut people down. It's not meant to stop you from growing and achieving. So I think that's what's really going on here for you guys. So the next card we have is Temperance. So this is pretty cool because this could really expand upon the Hierophant's energy, because we are dealing with Sagittarius. We have Taurus and Sagittarius, so maybe watch those readings if you feel called to watch them. They could also be influential people in your life right now. I feel like this Taurus energy, you could be dealing directly with a Taurus or with someone who has Taurus placements, and they have something to do with the so-called truth. Okay, if that's not like if you don't relate to anything I've been saying, just try to take it as like an analogy to what I'm saying. You know, like I'm just relaying the messages how I hear them, and sometimes you gotta just play with the words I say. Kind of just it's my words aren't meant to be like exact. Not always. Sometimes, but not always. It's meant to be like leave it to the imagination kind of thing. Okay, because I am essentially telling a story here. Okay, and so that's interesting too, because Sagittarius is a sign that I think is associated with stories. It is a sign that is associated with the ninth house, with higher learning. You would think it would relate to the Hierophant, you know. Maybe in some systems, Sagittarius rules over the Hierophant, but in this system that I use in practice, it's Taurus. But anyways, Temperance, I think it's here. There's like some justice element to this, okay? So I think Temperance is here to really guide you and lead the way. It's kind of like your guardian angel is stepping in, coming through. And maybe that's what's guiding you and pushing you to do this, because you feel the support of maybe literally your guardian angel, but you just feel the support of a higher power. You feel a higher calling to do whatever this is, or say whatever it is. Again, apply it how it is, how it resonates. So I think that's pretty cool, and I think that's really powerful. And the 8th house is a house of transformations, and so it is a time for you to really just, you want to step out of your comfort zone willingly, because the 8th house can be really uncomfortable to deal with. And so if you're really resistant to that, you know, it's going to create more complications. So you have to be open, and it's almost, you have to be a little self-destructive. Not to say that you should intentionally self-destruct. I'm just saying 8th house energy, Scorpio energy, is very self-destructive, and they do it in a way, if you think of it as like a snake has to shed its skin, right? That's a really destructive process of like ripping away the flesh, right? And so but they do it willingly, and they have to do it, because otherwise all that dead skin would probably, I don't know what it would do actually, but I can only imagine if it's not a good thing for them to not shed their skin. And so, and yeah, look at it like that. It's not a good thing to not shed skin, especially if it's waiting to be shed, because otherwise you're just carrying this hard outer shell that prevents you from growing and expanding. And that's what the 8th house is all about, growth and expansion. And it's eclipse. It's not an easy placement. So a Virgo moon in the 8th house is not an easy placement, okay? And if you have Virgo moon or Virgo placements in the 8th house, you're going to really feel the effects of this eclipse. Okay, I can kind of relate. I had a solar return with a Virgo moon in the 8th house once. It was freaking crazy. And so, yeah, like you want to, I'm pretty sure that was the placement. Either way, I did have like a moon in the 8th house, and I absolutely hated it. And either way, the moon helps you to see beyond the veil. Okay, when it's in the 8th house, it forces you to face the things that you keep hidden, and the things that you've been running away from for so long. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys. Let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to complete this reading. So very interesting for you guys, we have number 7, catching. I get this card a lot. All right, so number 7, maybe 777 is significant. Okay, catching. One day, while feeding my neighborhood crows, I noticed one of them using their beak to push around some decaying leaves and then dig a hole. The bird looked around, checking to make sure it wasn't being watched, and then swiftly opened its mouth and dropped in the food. It was saving the dog kibble I had given it for later. The crow didn't want to eat the food right away, but it also didn't want to leave it around for some other creature to enjoy. You may find yourself either keeping an idea or possession hidden till the time is right, or simply unwilling to let go of something you aren't using out of fear that someone else may benefit from your release or surrendering. Sometimes the moment is not right to move forward. However, it doesn't mean that the time will never arrive. You may be working on a project that holds a great deal of promise, but you are unable to devote the energy at the moment. Setting the idea aside does not mean giving it up. It just means that you recognize there will be value in waiting. Catching may also indicate that you will benefit from investing. This may be investing in yourself or investing in a financial institution. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best. Pisces, rising moon or sun. With Pisces on the ascendant, this new moon will be placed in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, connection, integration, union, diplomacy, and contracts. So for you guys, we have the Emperor. Okay, so I feel like this eclipse is demanding your attention. It's demanding your dominance, and that's kind of funny to think about, like demanding dominance, right? Someone's demanding to be dominated by you. Okay, maybe not, but maybe, you never know. But anyways, I'm sorry. The Emperor here is a sign that you are, I don't know, like you're really stepping into your power. I feel like you are rising to the occasion. On the other hand, this could be energy you're having to face head on. So it's almost like you're mirroring what's being projected onto you. So be careful with that. Okay, Pisces, I feel like that's a common thing for Pisces placements, is to mirror what is projected onto them. And so you don't, and that's how they get lost, I think. At least one way a Pisces can get really lost, okay, is by always taking in the projections of others, the opinions of others, the thoughts of others, and internalizing it, or thinking that it's yours and it belongs to you. So, you know, like you can dress up and play the part and, you know, be a character all you want, but does it really define you? Okay, so there is a need for boundaries here, and the eclipse could be asking that of you, especially since we are dealing with the 7th house and we're dealing with other people. And so boundaries are really important. How you set them, when you set them, and for whom you set them for are very, very crucial and very important. And it's quite interesting because we have the moon on the bottom of the deck here too, and so that could speak of like dissolve boundaries. Okay, so interesting. Okay, I'm not gonna say it, but so yeah, this bottom of the deck energy, it's what you're not seeing. And I think that's why you need to set boundaries and maybe stop taking on the projections of other people. You could, I got something similar. I forget who it was, maybe Libra or Scorpio, but there's something like that where it's like you could listen to other people without agreeing with them, right? Like, it's not what I said to them, but it was something along those lines where you can know your truth while still allowing other people to express their truth and say their truth. You don't have to internalize it, okay? So just be careful here. I mean, especially with the 7 of Cups, you need to be really careful because there's a lot of deception around you happening. Also, we have Saturn in your sign, back in your sign again, and so maybe you're being asked to really like polish up your throne, or maybe even just get back up on this throne and know that this is where you're meant to stay for, I don't know, months, maybe years to come. I think it's has a lot to, Saturn is like pushing you to really take some control here, and like this is like your last opportunity to really work with Saturn in your sign. And so I strongly recommend that you take advantage of that, especially if you have Pisces placements at the very end of Pisces. Okay, so the second card we have is a 2 of Wands. All right, so this speaks of having to kind of like look over your notes again and kind of reevaluate things. Ask yourself the hard questions, kind of go back and review, and that's like what Saturn's doing. So I think Saturn is being presented here in the Two of Wands. This is what it's asking you to do. The wands have everything to do with the path you're taking, as well as any projects that you've began and worked on. Okay, Two of Wands is more or less like, which path are you going to take? Okay, you're being presented with literally two separate paths. They're all going to lead to the same ending, right? But it's up to you how you go about it. So you can look at it as like, there's the easy way or there's a hard way. You can go through the tunnel, right through the mountain, and get to the other side, no problem. But you have to walk in complete darkness while doing it. But you have the trust and faith that you're going to get through it, but it's going to be super scary because you have no lights. Or you can climb over the mountain where you're out in the open air and there's plenty of lights and you could see what you're doing, but you still have to climb a mountain, right? Like it's gonna be a little difficult. So that's like one way of looking at it. Like, I don't think there's a wrong path here per se, okay? But it's ultimately up to you how you go about doing things. And on one end, I feel really it has to do with mindset, how you approach a situation, how you approach a problem. Okay, maybe not so much on how you solve the problem. So again, it's not necessarily about the actual end goal here. It's like how you go about it, because there's like karmic implications happening here, I feel. Okay, the 7th house is a very karmic house. Okay, so even if you're not a Pisces rising, it's still affecting your relationships. Relationships are always karmic. All relationships of all kind, good or bad, are very karmic. Okay, so and then for the bottom of the deck this time we have the Two of Pentacles, and I got that for Capricorn. Okay, so Saturn energy again, just having to balance and mediate, basically. I would say a benefit that you have when it comes to relationships is that you'll have Venus in your sign, or not in your sign, but in the sign of Virgo for the coming month ahead. And so she'll provide some relief. She can even help renew relationships, expand existing relationship, things like that. So there could be some good things coming. I feel like that's a whole topic on its own, which I won't get into, but just know that Venus will travel through Virgo. And so I think when she gets to that 29-degree point, she'll kind of like put a band-aid on it, right? On this eclipse energy, because again, we're in eclipse. So don't expect everything to be all rainbows. There's going to be some difficulties that do arise, but I'm optimistic, especially for you guys, that things will work out. I mean, you have some pretty powerful cards here, so just keep tapping into that Emperor energy. I know that you are a king in your rightful birth or whatever. I don't know. Like, you just they say everyone's special and everyone has a purpose and a meaning here. And if you definitely want to value your life, okay, and value what it is you are experiencing right now. And I don't know, just Emperor energy, big Emperor energy. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys. Let's go ahead and pull an oracle card to conclude the reading. So for you guys, we have number 9, communication. 9, communication. When I lived in my 3rd floor apartment, one of my neighborhood crows would often come calling on my balcony in the morning. There was one crow in particular that stood out that my daughter and I eventually named Brave One, because he or she would go right up to our sliding glass door and rap-a-tap-tap impatiently with its beak. This delightfully persistent bird was looking for a handout. Communication brings the message to speak up, state what you want. You may think those around you know your needs and desires, but that may not be the case. Now is the time to articulate your wishes. Communication asks that you get clear on what you want, so that there will be no misunderstanding or confusion later. Although communication may point to a situation on an earthly level, it may also indicate that you need to be clear with what you want when communicating with your spirit guides or higher self. Are you being too vague? Are you asking for what you want exactly? Okay, that sounds great. So thank you so much for watching, Pisces, and I wish you all the best.